Doing a pre-purchase survey on a used boat is probably one of the most important steps before you finalize the deal. And if you don't know what a pre-purchase survey is, it's where you hire a third-party certified inspector to come out to the boat, push all the buttons, test all the systems, do a compression check, and really just run the boat through its paces to make sure you know exactly what you're getting before you purchase.
What's up, guys? My name is Cody Long, and today I'm down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, going to survey a 2022 Sea Ray 370 Sundancer with the 300 package on it. A little bit of backstory on this client. He just sold his smaller bow rider and he reached out to me. He was originally looking for a Regal 38 XO. He really liked the galley up design with the sliding glass back doors, and he also liked the 2-cabin layout. But after he really dove into how he's going to use the boat, we found out that 90% of what he's going to do is going to be island hopping, going to sandbars, maybe taking a couple longer trips, but for the most part, it's going to be him and his wife bouncing around. The glass back doors are great, but they will shut down the back of a boat. We got on this 370 Sea Ray over at Marine Max, and he absolutely loved the boat, him and his wife. Some options that were really important to him is that he really wanted the full glass. He didn't want the half glass. He wanted to have the aft enclosure, and he really wanted to have Seakeeper on the boat. Originally, he wanted the 600s, but after a little bit of research, we found out the 300 package is going to be perfect for what he wants to do. The boat I found is listed with Lighthouse Point Marine down here in Pompano, so we're going to get up to it, see what it looks like. He sent us a video, so we kind of have a good idea. Surveyor is going to meet us there at 9. Client will meet us at 9. He landed in Miami, actually, so I was Fort Lauderdale. He's Miami. He's a little bit further away, but traffic's not too bad, so let's get on it, see what this boat looks like. Hopefully everything goes well in the survey. The broker told me everything is perfect. Boat looks like new, maybe some minor chips, but we will see. I'll keep you guys with me the entire time, see what comes up, and see how all of it goes.
Of course, it wouldn't be a survey day in South Florida unless we got rained on. It seems like every time I'm down here, I'm getting poured on. Let's talk about this 2022 Sea Ray 370 Sundancer and why this client loves it. So like I said, originally he was stuck on the Regal 38 XO because it has that nice cabin, sliding glass back doors. But one place that boat lacks is easy access to the bow of the boat and some comfortable seating inside the boat. With easy access up to the bow, it also makes it extremely easy to deploy and retrieve your windlass up here in this hatch. Even with extremely easy access up to the bow, you don't lose any protection here inside the cockpit. This whole windshield closes together. Over at the helm, you have 2 large Simrad displays that really control everything on the boat. You do have some light controls, and then you have your Mercury controls in there. Off to the bottom left-hand side, access to some Bocatech switches, your Fusion radio, and then on the starboard side is all of your controls for the Mercury and some Simrad controls. Moving into the back, you have a ton of seating on the starboard side, which is great for entertaining. And then off to port, you have a small wet bar. One thing that he was not a huge fan of on this boat is that the grill was removed and replaced with the Yeti cooler because the previous owner used that a heck of a lot more than actually grilling on the boat. In this wet bar, you have a small drawer and then a pull-out trash can just below that. Next to that's an isotherm refrigerator for all your drinks, or even a small frozen area in this one. As we keep moving aft on this boat, we pick up another seating area off to the port side, and this center aft seat will lay completely flat or be an aft-facing bench. This whole aft cockpit gives you so much room to entertain all of your guests. Down below through this day hatch is access into your bilge area where you're going to find your generator, your Seakeeper, battery switches, and all of your through hulls and sea strainers. Sea Ray does a great job of making their bilge space extremely accessible so that your sea strainers, batteries, and really anything else that you're going to have to do normal maintenance on is extremely accessible. Everything down here is extremely accessible and easily identifiable so your average boat owner can get down here and figure out what the problem is and keep their boat day going. Something else that really stands out to me on this boat is that Sea Ray was able to identify a great place for your fenders, lines, boat hooks, and really anything that you need for docking. In a lot of boats, you have to ask somebody to move, get off a seat so you can get a fender or line out. With Sea Ray, it's out here on the swim platform, so anytime you're going into dock, you have easy access into all of it. Like I said before, this client originally wanted a galley up coupe style boat, but without those sliding glass doors in the back, you can see how open the back of this boat is. Overhead on this boat, you have a sunshade and 3 different sunroofs, 1 fixed panel of glass, 1 opens, and another one has a small window vent. Something crazy on this boat and what my customer loves about it is that even though you have all the day features up top, you really don't sacrifice anything down below. You have all the accommodations with a transformable bed all the way up in the bow of the boat, you have a giant TV, hanging storage, and then all the way in the aft of this cabin is another transformable bed where these 2 backrests all the way in the back come in to fill in that gap there. Off to the port side, you have a small galley area with a microwave, a sink, and a ton of storage, and then something that I personally love, on the starboard side, you have a full head with an independent shower and head, so your toilet is not in your shower area. Going over this boat, it's extremely easy to see why he loves this 370. After a short rain delay, we were finally able to get on the water around 9:30, 9:45 and start heading over to our haul out. Originally, haul out was supposed to be at 11, but they called us and told us that they could take us really any time in the morning. There might just be one boat in the slings when we get there. We have about a 15-minute run to get over there, so that'll give us plenty of time to start the on-the-water portion of the survey, like run the generator, let the seakeeper spool up, and stuff along those lines. The surveyor started off in the bilge space down below, looking at the generator, the seakeeper, strainers, really all that kind of stuff to make sure there's no leaks or anything weird going on. Now, what I like to do on survey day is I like to pretty much conduct my own survey. I like to push all the buttons, play with the electronics, and really test all the systems myself. If I find an issue that needs to be addressed or I think might be an issue, I bring it up to the surveyor and let him put it in his report. Ultimately, I really want to make sure that my client understands exactly what they're getting into with the boat, the good, the bad, the ugly. Whenever I have a client looking at a boat, I have my own list of surveyors that I recommend because all these guys are certified and they're all extremely detail oriented and are going to find any issues that are going to pop up on this boat. Even though they're extremely good at what they do, an extra set of eyes never hurt while you're trying to look over a 37-foot boat that has 1,000 different systems on it. One benefit of a rainy survey day is that you get to find any leaks that are in the hardtop or in the cabin, like this one that was dripping down here on the helm. The land portion of our survey was going to be done at East Coast Marines, and there was still a boat in the slings. They had to haul that and block it before we were ready to come out, and they don't let us drive it into the slings. So we're going to tie off and hang out for a little bit until they're ready to put this boat in, and then Jay will do his out-of-water portion, which will include tapping, engine inspection, and stuff along those lines. With the boat being dockside and being in the water still, it's a perfect opportunity to see the hull sides and really everything we're not going to be able to see while it's in the slings because it is going to be extremely tall when it's up there. There are a couple small areas of some fender rash, but for the most part, compound can take it out, and for the other stuff, you might have to do a little bit of wet sanding, but overall, really not bad condition. I always think it's crazy, the joystick is the game changer of the marine industry. You can drive the boat sideways, line it up with the slip, bring it into the slings nice and easy to where you don't even need to use a bow thruster, and it's extremely easy for any captain of really any experience to get in here. If you want to see exactly how a joystick works, check out the Yamaha Helmmaster full maneuverability tutorial on my YouTube channel. That's enough of the shameless plug. This boat's up in the slings, and it's always crazy to see these travel lifts pick up huge boats and bring them over the land. They do swing a lot, and it sometimes scares the new owner, but it's always worth it. The out-of-water portion is when we get to see any of the hidden parts of the boat, and that's all the stuff below the water line, like your running surface. We get to see if there's any dents and dings in the chines, and any dock rash that's extremely close to the water. The surveyor is also going to go through all of your through hulls, your underwater lights, the condition of the bottom paint, and if there's anything that needs to be addressed while the boat's out of the water. Sometimes if the boat hasn't gotten a bottom job recently, the marina will offer to pressure wash the boat, and usually that is a buyer's expense. For the most part, the running surface of this boat was in really good condition, with a couple areas that probably could use some paint touch-up if the boat was going to live in the water, and a small gel coat chip. The outboards and the lower units were all in really good shape, a little bit of peeling paint, but we see that on pretty much every Mercury that we survey. All the props and skegs were all in good shape with no dents or dings, just a little bit of paint missing from hitting some sandbars, which is to be expected in Florida. Unfortunately, one big turnoff for my client was the amount of growth and the lack of paint on the transom brackets for each motor. This kind of stuff's to be expected on a boat that lives in the water and can usually get knocked off with either a pressure washer or a good diver that can get in there. On the port side of the boat, there really wasn't anything to write home about. The boat looked like it just got a detail. It was extremely shiny, a couple buff marks that can be compounded out and make it look just like brand new again. Now it's time for the most obnoxious part of a survey, which is the hull tap and sounding test. If you had too much to drink the night before or you have a headache, it's going to be worse after this. It's where the surveyor walks around with a hammer, taps on the bottom of the boat, and listens for different sounds in the hull to see if there's any kind of delamination or water behind the hull. This also helps him inspect pretty much every square inch of the running surface to see if there's any dents or dings that really need to be addressed or need to be put on the survey. While Jay was doing the sounding test, he found this small gel coat chip that was likely from a trailer or putting on a lift at some point. The out of water portion typically takes about an hour, and then we are back in the water to finish the in water portion, test the systems that we haven't already checked yet, and then do a full sea trial, get the engines all the way up to full speed, do some back down stuff, and really get a good feel for this boat. We were going out through the Hillsborough Inlet, and the current was absolutely ripping through here. It was a super high tide, so we were really wondering if we were going to fit under this bridge, so we had a couple people in the back. I was up in the front spotting to make sure that we had enough room to get underneath. And yes, we did go outside of the bumpers because that was actually a higher portion of the bridge. You can see how the drawbridge portion has a little arch to it and makes it a little bit lower to get underneath. We ended up having just about a foot or two of space to get that radar dome underneath. You really don't want to slow down or get sideways in this current because you can see how strong that's actually pumping through here. Surprisingly enough, the Atlantic was extremely calm and a perfect day for a sea trial. A little bit of chop on top so you can feel how the boat rides, but you can get the boat up to full speed and do all the tests that we needed to do. The first test that the surveyor typically likes to do is the wide open throttle test, where you get the boat going as fast as you can, make sure it turns the max RPM for the engine, and make sure there's no breakdowns when you get up there. After the surveyor is happy with that, he'll typically back it down by about 500 RPMs and test each RPM zone to make sure there's no shudders or anything else going on in the engine. The other test that gets kind of crazy is the trim tab test. That's where you test each one independently, and that'll toss the boat from port to starboard and kind of make you list a little bit. After all that, we bring the boat down to idle and get the bow super high and put the engines under an extreme load to make sure that they are pushing properly. Finally, all that's left is really test the Seakeeper and then let the buyer get a good feel for the boat and drive it himself. Like I mentioned earlier, there was a leak in the glass in the hard top, so Jay hopped up top to see if it was any kind of silicone breaking down or if there was a more serious issue that he had to relay to the client. While we were idling back to the dock in the no-wake zone, I wanted to play with all the switches on the GPS and get the radar spun up and just make sure that everything in here worked. Jay already did, but I had to do it myself. I also went ahead and checked out the sonar and really every other function in this Simrad display. There's a ton of stuff in here and a lot of different digital switching that I had to play with, and of course wanted to make sure that the Seakeeper talked to the Simrad display. That is one breakdown that you can get on the NEMA system. And finally, for my own sake, I wanted to get into the Simrad and go to the mercury gauges and double check the hours just so I can verify myself and have a picture of it on my phone. Gotta love South Florida. We saw a ton of iguanas, actually a couple of them floating in the canal, and this really bright green guy. Finally, to finish up the survey dockside, Jay hooked up his computer to do a full download from all the engines to get hours, RPM range, and any trouble codes that might be on the engines. We also went ahead and pulled all the cowlings off these to do a visual inspection, and Jay is also going to do a compression check on all of these motors, so that's 8 cylinders for 3 engines. So that's checking all 24 cylinders. With the cowlings off, the engines were in pretty good shape. There's a little bit of rust in a couple of spots, which I'll zoom in on here in just a second, but overall they look really good. They could use a little bit of fogging on them to keep them nice and shiny and help protect from any of the corrosion. Nothing really stood out until you see these bolts on the top of the engine, which could just be from some humidity in the air. and then just a little bit back here on the intake, and just some dirt that really could be cleaned up. Nothing crazy though, and really nothing to be crazy alarmed about. While the surveyor is doing the compression check, let's go over the survey findings. There's a little bit of silicone missing out from underneath one of the rub rails on the back starboard side. There's a grounding wire that wasn't connected on the engines. There's a rigging tube that was coming off on the starboard engine. There was some minor dock rash, a little bit of gel coat imperfection on the port side of the helm area. One of the bilge pumps needed to be reattached, and then really just the sunroof leak. There were a couple other small findings, but nothing really to write home about. Overall, this boat surveyed very well, and the surveyor did a great job finding any and every issue on the boat. Helping clients buy boats is really the fun part of the job. I get to really pick their brains and find out exactly how they're going to use the boat and what's going to fit their needs the best. Put something in front of them and watch them fall in love with the boat. The best part is, when you're buying a boat, the broker doesn't cost you a single thing, and you get expert advice on your side the entire time. If you're in the market for your next boat, always feel free to reach out. I can help you find the right boat at the right price and help you every step of the way.